There, my name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is soul versus spirit. This is dedicated to Alicia. Alicia is one of the 100 subscribers on my channel. I would like to thank all of you that have subscribed to my channel. It makes a huge difference, and it also makes a huge difference when you do connect with me and comment. Once you get to 1,000 subscribers, YouTube will pay you, and it's one of the ways I want to have passive income for the college. But initially when I created the channel, I didn't want to. I had several very powerful psychic friends tell me, you're supposed to be on video, get on video. So I did it, even though I didn't want to. And here's one lovely thing, is getting to connect with this wonderful soul that asks such thoughtful questions. And she posted on my soul retrieval video a question about what is the difference between soul and spirit. And she has a tendency to be very just authentic and candid in her truth. And she said, I often interchange those words. And I think it's common. I think that's very normative to, my soul, my spirit doesn't like that, my soul, whatever, I think that's super normal to exchange those words. I think there is a distinction. And I think it's a fair question. Like, why would we have different words for it if there isn't a distinction? I think it depends on the two-legged you ask as far as the answer they would give. And that's generally true as far as what is the distinction on that. I would say from a more global, more normative perspective of the two, spirit is more of an umbrella topic. It's more of a universal topic. It's more of an I and the Father are one, or like a connection to divinity. From the divine, we're given spirit, animus, animating force, life force energy that actually animates this future corpse and causes me to have all this energy to give you this video. And then soul is more individuated in that Heather Feather has a soul. You, if you're watching this, you have a soul. And we have these individual souls walking our future death sacks around. It's a different meditation. So I was like, your future death, your future death. I do these weird meditations sometimes in the car. Look at all these future dead people. They're everywhere. Anyhow, neither here nor there. That's kind of the universal concept of it. That spirit, I got the spirit of the Lord in me. Like, spirit is a larger, broader perspective, and it's more unified and it's more connected to the all. I'm giving that to you from a little bit more of a Christic perspective. But let me give it to you from a Heather Feather perspective, which includes Christic and all perspectives. Plus this one. So in a shamanic perspective, it's pretty universal. I've studied shamanism from a man named Lightwalker, among other shamans, a powerful bear medicine man I've studied with, many different shamans. And what Lightwalker taught me, who was versed in international shamanism, and shamanism is a global practice, and he is adept at plucking the strings of what kind of sameness is happening shamanically on a global perspective. And one of those samenesses that occurs on a global perspective is the majority of shamans hold an animistic viewpoint. Now, an animistic viewpoint is where you see everything being animated by spirit. There's a spirit in the rock. There's a spirit in the river. There's a spirit in the winds. Iris, Boreas, Notus, Eurus. We can call on the four winds. We can make friends with the winds. We can make friends with the clouds. We can practice nephilomancy and become psychic at reading the clouds because there's a spirit in the clouds, and the clouds are talking. And I've had the clouds literally spell out words and talk to me many times, and I've had them tell me entire stories because I practice nephilomancy. And so there is a spirit, there is an energetic dynamic. I've said this often about the sun. Is it possible that the sun is a gaseous ball and a god or a spirit? Is it viable that something could be two things at once? Have you ever been two things at once? Have you ever wanted to, have people but also be alone? Have you ever wanted to eat but then don't want to eat also because you just can't choose well? It's possible that the sun is a gaseous ball. And it is Surya, Inti, Lug, Sol, Ra, Amun Re. It has, through many cultures, been praised as a spirit and an entity. And it's viable that it's both. And just because you don't have the right eyes to see the spirit doesn't mean it's not there. So animism is the perspective that everything is the spirit. The scientific way we would say that is everything's made of atoms. Atoms are made of subatomic particles. Subatomic particles are made of quarks. But if we get into the quantum mechanics or the spirit of science, then I would say everything is waves of probability that collapses into particles because the consciousness is present. So don't get me into a quantum mechanics diatribe because I'll go into one, Heather. let's change topics. What I'm saying is that animism is the concept that everything has a spirit, even my glasses. Scientifically, we do know that everything that you're looking at and I'm looking at, everything in this amazing house of mine is atoms. And atoms are energy, and energy has a spirit and it has an animus. I often think that which animates the bumblebee, the tree, you and me is this unified spirit, this unified sea. I also have been questioning for about the past decade, like, do we have a soul though? Do we have a soul? And my question is, or is that another of the ego's attempts to possess and own and separate and break apart? I'm Heather Mackey. I'm these labels. Blah, blah, blah. I have an ego. My ego's so good at labeling things. Not only did it label me and break me down into all these limited parts instead of this broad, expansive anythingness, everythingness that can express into the nothingness, which everything is made of because everything's made of emptiness. Instead, I'm like, all these divided labels. And then also, I've divided myself into a soul. I'm separate from you. My soul's separate from your soul. It's like, I don't like it. I don't like the concept. And I really struggle. I'm like, I've studied the soul for a long time. I've been to the school of metaphysics. I've read tons of spiritual texts. My particular neurodivergence, my autism focus, if you've seen Atypical, which is a hilarious and really well-written show, is not penguins. It's spirituality, and it has been for decades. And so I've studied spirituality nonstop, and I've taken all kinds of courses on concepts around the soul. And I've sat with many masterful beings regarding the soul. And I used to really, really believe in it. It's like, I believe in reincarnation. I believe in near-death experiences. And it's because of the volumes of evidence. I believe in mathematics, and math has weight. And so I'm very scientific. And because I'm scientific, when you have millions of people talking about UFOs and alien abductions, when you have hundreds of thousands or millions of instances of near-death experiences or reincarnation stories, and you have all of these things that get verified, now we're getting into evidence. This is evidence, you guys. Just because you don't ever experience going swimming because you don't know how to swim, or just because you don't ride a bike because you don't know how to ride a bike, doesn't mean bikes and the option of swimming don't exist. Just because you haven't been abducted by aliens doesn't mean they don't exist. We're either having mass hallucinations that include cosmonauts and astronauts saying that aliens exist, and government cover-ups that are all being reported, and things being pulled out of bodies that don't come from Earth School. We either are having a really massive, dramatic hallucination that's global, or there's aliens. And if you like math and you know the number of galaxies that are present, you would find it quite illogical to not believe in them, frankly. You know? And it's like, why would they want to hang out with us? It's like, are we not the most curious? Do we not shoot ourselves into space? Apparently life is very curious nature. It has a curious nature. Have you found yourself to be curious? I found myself to be quite curious. I digress, and I could digress forever on these topics, but there are all these different things where we see evidence. And so I see lots of evidence of the idea of soul through every reincarnation story, which is, I would imagine, close to millions now, because you're talking about entire cultures like India where they believe in reincarnation and therefore will validate. I've seen things on ABC News where a kid was like, I was this man and I died and I want to go back to my village. And because they believed in it, they took him there. And by the time he left, the woman who lost her husband was like, that little boy was my husband. Because he was like, hey, I told you not to move the radio. Like, she was like, oh my God, I feel like my husband's here. So I digress. There are all these different stories that involve the concept of a soul. There are books about the in-between period before you incarnate into a life or into a vessel. There are books about reincarnation. There are books about near-death experiences. Near-death experiences where my etheric body, my soul, travels out of my body, and there are accounts of people being out of the body, flatline dead scientifically on the table, and being able to verbatim repeat the conversation that the doctor had about his golfing game and describe every single tool he used to do surgery on their brain while they were dead and flatlined on the table. You know, so they can say, like, you talked about your golf game, da-da-da-da-da, you used this tool, then I flatlined, then you freaked out, caused people, stat, blah, 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 and then you said this. And it's like, whoa, that's a lot of stuff. So there's volumes of evidence around the concept of a soul. The idea that I've been flirting with for the past decade is like what the ego does is its job is to label. That's fire. And we need to remember fire is hot, and I need to label fire hot, don't stick hand in fire. And the ego's duty and function, and the reason we created it, is because we have so much contrast that's available with infinite creativity that we needed to label the creativity. But the problem is the ego's become addicted to its labels. It's like, I am this. I'm Heather. I'm this, and I'm not that, you know. Be nice. I'm nice. You should be nice. I'm not always nice. I can be super mean. I can be super mean to myself a bunch. I've been a bunch mean to myself in this life. And I can be super mean to others. Now, I prefer nice. I prefer kindness. I prefer love. I prefer every single day to be love informed to the best of my ability, because that is what I see to be one of the things that makes a life worth living. However, I'm not just nice, you know? And so the challenge for me with soul is it feels to me like another ego grab to label and divide Heather from everything else. And I am not divided. I and the Father are one means to me that I and divinity, I and the animus, I and spirit are unified and one. So there is no Heather feather. There is no soul. There is no individual entity. That is a delusion called Earth Space-Time Delusion Program. Where we goof off and pretend like we can separate, and we're like, let's get even more separate. Hey, let's build a wall. Let's separate a bunch. Hey, get away from me. You know what I mean? And it's like all relationships are eternal. You're going to keep coming back and meeting whoever it is you're running from. So might as well meet yourself and figure out why it is you're running from that thing. Whatever you're running from is just tapping you on the back of the head. So let's slow down and consider, okay, what is this that I need to be so separate? I need to be so separate from my brethren. Now, because I love science and because I believe in math, to a degree, because I believe in math in this realm, the mathematical weight of the concept of soul, from ghost, from the concept of near-death experiences, from reincarnation, from in-between life, there's volumes and volumes of evidence that we have souls. I know that I have lived many lifetimes in Africa. I've lived many lifetimes in India. I'm quite drawn to Egyptian shamanism, and one of the shamans I train with, he and I both, our past life was in Africa, and that's where we gained kind of like a mental capacity to alter fields. And so I do have a concept of Heather living. I don't ever really see them as past or future lives, because to me, the concept of time and space is a delusion. I have only ever been right here, right now. I've never been over there. If I go over there, that there becomes my here. And I am not anywhere but right now. I'm not in the past, although my mind has a penchant for wondering about the cabin. And I'm not in the future, although my mind has a penchant for wondering about the cabin. I'm always here now. So because I'm always here now, and I believe in expansiveness and largesse, and I believe in, because I know I in and of myself am quite large and vast on the inside, I do not think I am just Heather Feather, this lady, I'm this gal, and that's it. Then I'm dust. You know what I mean? I think that all past and future lives actually coincide alongside me right now. And I think they're occurring with this moment of now. And I think there are lifetimes in which I'm using far more advanced technology than this video. And I think there are lifetimes in which I'm using mental technology and holding consciousness with the river in the wind. You know what I mean? And so to me, the soul is usually an individual expression, to be clear. The spirit is usually a broader, more unified, connected to all animistic perspective. To me, the question that I'm asking myself in the living tree as of late is it possible that the concept of soul is just another ego grab at division? I don't know. There are a lot of stories around it, but we have a lot of stories down here, and I don't even think we're down here because I and the Father are one. Everything's connected, always has been. Tell me, what do you think is the difference between soul or spirit? I'd love to hear your comments too. I'm so happy to engage with all of you. You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. I'm Moon.